Okay, let's get started with Blackjack Basics. You can have up to 5 players at a time. Each player competes against the dealer, not each other. The object is to get 21, or as close as possible without going over. Going over a score of 21 is a bust and results in a loss to the player. A player wins when the dealer busts, goes over 21, or when the player has a greater score than the dealer without busting. Play starts when the players have placed their bets. Then the dealer deals the cards. 2 cards to each, face up to the players with the dealer receiving 1 card face down. This is called the dealer's hole card. Once the cards are dealt, the player to the dealer's far left goes first. Since the dealer is showing an ace, players can place insurance bets, which are half their original bet, in case the dealer has a blackjack. The dealer looks at his hole card. If the dealer has a 10 or a face as his hole card, he has a blackjack and an automatic score of 21. Insurance pays the players. If not, then players lose insurance bets and play continues normally. The player has a few options to play. If their hand is a blackjack or 21, they win automatically, or push if the dealer ties. If not, then the player chooses whether to hit, stand, split, or double down. To hit is to take another card. To stand, take no cards and freeze the score as it is. When you split, the player has to have 2 cards of equal value to start the hand. The bet and cards are then split into 2 hands, each with a separate bet. Or the player can double down, doubling the bet for 1 more card, then freezing the score. If the dealer does not have a blackjack at the start of the hand, play continues until each player stays or busts. Then the dealer can play his hand. Typical house rules are that the dealer must continue to hit, take more cards, until his score is greater than 16, and must stay after reaching a score of 17. If the dealer does not bust, go over 21, and the players have chosen to stand, winnings are awarded to the players who have a greater score than the dealer, but not over 21. Now that we've covered the basics, let's play out a few hand scenarios. Players place their bets. The dealer deals the cards, 2 to each with 1 face down to the dealer. The dealer is showing a 5, so insurance is not necessary, and play starts with the player to the dealer's left. The first player has an ace with a queen. That's a blackjack and an automatic win. Play moves to the left. This player has a score of 9 and chooses to hit, take another card. He receives a 10 and decides to stand at 19. The last player has a score of 18 and decides to stand without taking another card. Now the dealer turns over his hole card and shows the players he has an 8. With a score of 13, the dealer hits. He receives a 5 and must stay with a score of 18. Dealer pays players 1 and 2. The third player has a push. The hand is now over and cards are returned to the deck. New hand scenario. Bets are placed, cards are dealt, and the dealer shows a 6. The first player has a score of 18 and decides to stand. The second player has a score of 11 and decides to double down, doubling the bet for 1 more card, then freezing the score. He receives a 9 and now has a score of 20 with twice the bet. The last player has a score of 14 and decides to stand, figuring the dealer will have to hit and then bust. The dealer flips his hole card and has a score of 16. He must hit. He draws a 7 for a score of 23. Dealer busts, pays all players. Let's try another possible hand. Once the bets are placed and the dealer has dealt the cards, the dealer is showing a 7. The first player has a 13 and decides to hit, just in case the dealer already has a score of 17 or better. He draws a 2 for a score of 15. Still, he hits again as the dealer could have a higher score already. He draws a 5. He now has a score of 20 and chooses to stand. Player 2 has a score of 12. He also decides to hit. He draws a king for a score of 22. He busts and loses this hand. Player 3 is showing a score of 17 and decides to stand without taking another card. Once the dealer flips his hole card, he shows a score of 15. He must take another card. The dealer draws a 6 for a score of 21. All players pay the dealer. These are just a few of the scenarios you'll encounter as you learn more about how to play blackjack. With a good knowledge of blackjack basics, making the right decisions when you're sitting at the blackjack table becomes a lot easier and could lead you to more winnings. Thanks for staying with us for Blackjack Basics. Happy playing!